of Talking Films Online. Today we are going to be discussing an Assamese film, and the discussion will be led by Parthajit Baruah. Parthajit is an Indian member of the International Federation of Film Critics, as well as an award-winning documentary filmmaker. His book on the legendary Indian filmmaker Adur Gopal Krishnan, titled Face to Face, The Cinema of Adur Gopal Krishnan, was published in 2016 by HarperCollins. The book also won the Best Book in Cinema at the State Film Awards, Government of Assam. He has done research projects at the National Film Archive of India, Pune, and he's also on the distinguished filmmaker Janu Baruah. It's Cinema with a Vision 2018 and another project on narratives of Assamese cinema in 2017. He has presented several research papers in international conferences. Apart from books, he has contributed articles to several journals on cinema and has made several documentaries that have won multiple awards. Welcome, Parthajit, and over to you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Today, I have decided to speak on Janu Baruah's HALODHIA CHORAYE BAODHAN KHAI. This film is a landmark in the history of Assamese cinema. This is landmark in that sense because this was the first Assamese film that took to the world map. Though if you look at the history of Assamese cinema began with Jyoti Prasad Agarwala's first film called Joymoti, made in the year 1935. Since 1935, there was no any Assamese film that won international award. But yes, in the year 1959, there was an Assamese film called Puberon. It was screened, it was the official selection at the Berlin International Film Festival. But it did not win any award. But it was Janu Baruah's HALODHIA CHORAYE BAODHAN KHAI, in English called The Catastrophe. It won international awards at the Locarno International Film Festival. It took Assamese cinema to the world map. And later on, there are many Assamese films that won international awards. And finally, we all know about Rimada's Village Rock Star. So here I'll focus on the film, the landmark film, HALODHIA CHORAYE BAODHAN KHAI. This film talks about the class structure, the rich and the poor. The title in Assamese, HALODHIA CHORAYE, if we translate it in English, it will mean HALODHIA CHORAYE, yellow bird, Baodhan Khai. Baodhan means crops. Yellow bird eats, Khai means eat. Yellow birds eat crops. We cannot translate this sentence in direct way, but it suggests the HALODHIA CHORAYE eats, the yellow birds eat crops. The yellow bird here symbolically signify the rich of the society. At the same time, the crops, the hard-earned crops, the hard-labored crops by the poor farmers, and they have been working. They used to work for a longer period of time, and finally they get crops. But when they get crops, they are eaten by the yellow birds. It has a symbolic significance, but I don't know why the filmmaker has not translated the title from Assamese to English directly, but he has given the name as the Catastrophe. Though it directly shows the class structure, how the rich exploit the poor farmers. It is in fact the adaptations, the original text, source text means the novel was written by one of the renowned filmmaker of the country called Parthajit Baruah. His novel was also called as HALODHIA CHORAYE BAODHAN KHAI. So just I have written some points, and I hope you listen to me. Janu Baruah emerged as a staunch practitioner of alternative cinema and became the first Assamese to receive an international award, the Silver Leopard Award, for his epoch-making film HALODHIA CHORAYE BAODHAN KHAI in the year 1988 at Locarno International Film Festival, and thus brought Assamese cinema to the global map. As a socially conscious filmmaker, humanity is always in the forefront in his films, and Baruah believes that the idea of humanity was born in him when he was in the village called Japi Hoji of Hibohagar district, where he studied for 2 years. If you look at the story of the film, The Catastrophe, the protagonist is called the Rakheshwar. The protagonist Rakheshwar in HALODHIA CHORAYE BAODHAN KHAI is ordinary human being with ordinary human emotions and passions, but is given ethical and allegorical dimensions. Characters like we have means, as we have told you that in the film, Janu Baruah has shown Zamindar on the one hand, on the other hand, he has shown the poor farmers, and it has shown how the Zamindar tries to seize all the land possessed by the farmer. At that time, when there was a crisis, there was a problem in the life of the poor farmer. At that time, though the character that Janu Baruah introduced in the film, when the Zamindar was just exploiting to the poor farmer Rakheshwar, particularly the Rakheshwar's family. Rakheshwar is the representative of all the poor farmers of the country, not only of Assam, it's the all country. It is happening. The same thing is happened in Kerala. When I wrote the book on Janu Baruah, on Adurgopalakrishnan, then when I studied and did the research on the socio-political milieu of Kerala, then I have found the same thing. So in the context of the country, I can say that the Zamindar, how the Zamindar tries to exploit the poor farmers is everywhere. But here, when the Zamindar tries to exploit the poor farmer Rakheshwar and his family and tries to seize his whole land, then Janu Baruah introduces a character. The farmer was completely helpless. He knows nothing how to escape from the Zamindar, because he was a rich man. He cannot fight. He was completely destroyed. He was supposed to commit suicide, as you have seen watched the film. But the thing is that at that time, Janu Baruah introduced one character called SDC, and SDC, and SDC. I personally feel SDC is the alter ego of Janu Baruah, because as I told you just sometimes back that Janu Baruah's film always talks about the humanity. When the poor people are in problems, then we always find that Janu Baruah always create a character. Janu Baruah always create a character that helps the poor farmers, poor people, deprived people. So interestingly, the SDC character cannot be found in the original text or the source text. So I asked Janu Baruah about it. Then Janu Baruah says that regarding the SDC character, Janu Baruah told me that My approach towards life is positive. Now, I asked why you decided to introduce the SDC character to save the poor farmer, because in the original or source text there was no any such character. Why you have decided? Then he says, he told me that my approach towards life is positive and hope. I have presented in the character of SDC as the key character in the film. Then again, if you look at his earlier two films, Oporupa and Papuri, were his own stories and were based on his real life experiences. Papuri is about a woman who was dissatisfied with her marital relationship. Similarly, same thing happened in case of the other film Papuri. The situation was quite different, but it's both talks about the woman psychology. His first adapted work is HALODHIA CHORAYE BAODHAN KHAI, which is based on, I told you sometimes back, which is based on Sahitya Academy Award winning writer Homen Borgohain's novel of the same title. While making this film, Baruah uses allusions and interpolations to transcend the linguistic, cultural, and geographic limitations to give it an universal appeal. In his first two films, Baruah had the free hand, but in case of HALODHIA CHORAYE BAODHAN KHAI, he had to be careful as he knew some examples. He knew some examples where court cases were fought between the filmmaker and the author due to their own ideological conflict. Baruah assured the author, Homen Borgohain, usually what happened when Jano Baruah approached the writer to adapt his film, then Homen Borgohain, the author, said that it is often found that the filmmaker always changes many things from the original sources. So the writer says that it goes into such an extent that the writer finally goes and approaches to the court. Then at the time before making that, when there was a conversation between Jano Baruah and the author, then Baruah assured the author Homen Borgohain that the gist of the story would remain the same, such as the problem of the farmer will be in the forefront of the film, the way it got importance in the novel, but the journey of the farmer may be different. After 3 protracted meetings with the author, he had to meet for 3 times. He had met the author for 3 times. Normally it doesn't happen, but he met because the author did not allow in a very easy way that, okay, Jano Baruah has come and go and make the film. But the author was quite different, though he recently passed away. He at last said that he would thoroughly convince and agreed to the ways I wish to narrate, the author says Jano Baruah. In the source context, as I have read the source original novel, then I have found that in the source novel, the farmer had 7 children. If you have watched the film in HALODHIA CHORAYE BAODHAN KHAI, then you'll find that the Rakesh, of the protagonist, the farmer, had two children. But in the original text, we have found that the farmer had 7 children, but Baruah reduced the number of the farmer's children into 2 to suit to his film. Similarly, in the original story, Rakeshwar did not get back his land. If you look at the original text, you will find that the farmer Rakeshwar did not get back, because, as I told you, that the zamindar wanted to get all the land, because the zamindar said that the land the Rakeshwar was holding, all the land possessed by his forefathers, because Rakesh's father mortgaged all the properties. So in that context, in the original text, Rakeshar did not get back the land, but Baruah tried to take home aspect for the audience. And take home aspect means, when we look at the film, then if Jano Baruah just translated what was written in the text, then the audience wouldn't have been satisfied. But he wanted to give his own perspective, so he showed that way. He told me. So the farmer is shown getting back in the film. You'll find that the farmer is shown getting back his own land from the landlord. Then I asked about that particular adaptations. aspects, then Janu Baruah told me that I have my target audience who can be from a rickshaw puller to an intellectual. All the audience must enjoy the film, and it is my main responsibility. They must identify themselves with the entire situations, Baruah told me. When the film was premiered in Urvashi Hall in Panbazar, Guwahati, even because when the film was screened, normally the filmmaker does not invite the author, but Janu Baruah, he knew as he had a three-protected meeting. So Janu Baruah invited the author, because I'm just focusing on this particular specs about adaptations on between adaptation and in terms of talking about the filmmaker and the writer, because there was a conflict when Adur Gopalakrishnan wanted to make a film. And so there was a conflict. I'll tell you some when I'll speak on Adur Gopalakrishnan. So normally it happened. So I'm just focusing on that particular point, and I'll come back to the text on the film. When the film was premiered in Urvashi Hall in Guwahati, Homen Baruah, the author, came to watch the film. Janu Baruah was quite excited. I wanted to know the reaction of the original author. When the film was over, interestingly, when the film was over, the author hugged Baruah and said, "I like the film immensely." So that point is very important, because Janu Baruah expected that he would like, but he never expected that the senior author, the renowned author, will hug him, because at the time Janu Baruah was very young, maybe 30, in between 30 to 35. So the base of the story, HALODHIA CHORAYE BAODHAN KHAI, is how the rich and powerful section exploit and subjugate the poor and ordinary people of the society. The narrative of the film is deceptively simple with deeper layers of meaning. The protagonist, Rakeshwar, is a poor farmer leading a simple life with his wife, Toru, and two children. This family has a small plot of land that serves as their only source of livelihood. But his desperation begins when he goes to his paddy field for plowing at the advent of the monsoon and confronts Sanatan Sarma, the landlord of the village. Sanatan Sarma was the landlord, what I was talking about, the Zamindar. The Sarma title is always represents the Brahmin. That point we have to remember that things. So confronts Sanatan Sarma means Rakeshwar, when he was expecting rain because he wanted to go for plowing, but after long period of time, after big gap, when the rain came, so he wanted to go for plowing. Then he found that Sanatan Sarma was already there. So he was the landlord of the village, who claims that his father means Rakesh's father, had already mortgaged this land for a small amount of money, and he did not clear the mortgage before he passed away. But and that is the important point, because there was no any clear proof. Normally the rich people, how the rich people try to exploit the poor, innocent, illiterate people, because he has never gone to the school. Rakeshwar has never gone to the school. So once the Zamindar has gone to his place and saying and claiming that his father, Rakeshwar's father, had mortgaged the entire plot to the landlord's father, and without repaying the whole amount of money, his father, Rakeshwar's father, passed away. If someone says, so it looks very fishy. Normally it is happening. It has been happening since a long period of time, irrespective of our state, in different culture, different society of our country. The landlord tells him that as per this year's settlement, the land becomes his. But Rakeshwar is utterly shocked, because Rakeshwar was utterly shocked when the landlord was saying that this land would become his after land settlement. So that was a huge shock for Rakeshwar, because that was the only plot of land he had, and that was the only plot of land that he had the earning source. Then Rakeshwar is utterly shocked and says when the Zamindar was saying that that plot belongs to him, then landlord said, I have been paying revenue all these years. If this land is not mine, how can they collect revenue from me? I saw my father paying your money back with interest. This point is very important because I have put this sentence when the rich man came to the Rakshas's place and saying that this land belonged to him. Then the point at the time, Rakshasa was saying that in fact I have been giving the revenue of this plot of land for a longer period of time. Even I saw with my own eyes that he paid back the whole amount of money that his father took from Sanatan Sharma. He said, but there was no any valid proof. Normally it happens. Normally it has been happening in our society. How we just exploit the poor innocent people. With a frustrated state of mind, Rakeshwar comes home and beats his wife. Look, just if you look at the means when he was there, when Rakeshwar was in the paddy field, he was about to plow, and at that time, the moment you have to understand the moment. Rakeshwar, who has been waiting for the rain, once the rain comes, he comes to the paddy field for plow. When he was about to plow, at the critical moment, the rich man came, and the rich man was claiming that the land belonged to him. Then he responded this way, and out of frustrations, he came back and beat his wife black and blue. He vent his anger. He couldn't vent his anger to the rich man, but he vent his anger to his wife. He beat his wife black and blue. That is very important. That normally happen. And later, when he visits the Mandal, then he decided that he will fight back, because when he wanted to fight back, then he decided to go to Mandal. He confirms Rakeshwar, the Mandal confirms Rakeshwar that in the new settlement, the land belongs to Sanatan Sharma. Even the Mandal, the government officials who take care of who look after the land revenues, he said to Rakeshwar that yes, in the new land settlement, your land would go in the name of Sanatan Sharma. The Mandal suggests him to file a case against Sanatan Sharma to get back his own land. Another point, we have found that the rich man, the zamindar is exploit the fox, we have come to know. But again, when the poor person, the poor farmer, approached the Mandal for the help, the Mandal belonged to the same village. He came to his place and asking help, but Mandal says that you have to file a case against the rich man, against the zamindar, to get back your land. Now the question is, where will he get money to fight with a rich man? But still, he has got a little hope, thinking that okay, if he files a case, he has no idea about the court process or certain things. So Rakeshwar had no way out but to file a case. Rakeshwar offers to fight against the Sanatan Sharma in the circle office, but in the course of the time, he loses everything. Then he says that he has to go. Rakeshwar the Mandal says that he has to go. Rakeshwar has to go and file a case in the circle office, and there he was trapped by many people. He has to give bribe. He has to sell his cows. He has to sell everything. He has sold everything, and he was completely penniless. He sells his cow to bribe the officers, the clerks, the peons in the office. See the conditions, the mental state. The person who was thinking about the rice, that's how can they survive? They have lost everything. They have sold everything. Even he approached the village head and decided to leave his son Mohan as a servant at the house of the village head for rupees 30 a month to compensate his debt. He was in debt. He borrowed money from some of the villagers. Then he found no way out to repay the money. Then he decided that he should go to the village head and engage his son as a servant to his house. Slowly and gradually, the small family, though they didn't have much money, they were just living in a very humble way. But this simple family slowly and slowly breaking down. Filmmaker Baruah always presents his alter ego in his film. I told you that Jano Baruah always uses one character. It is not only that in this particular film, Jano Baruah uses his alter ego, the humanity he has shown through certain character. In different films, Jano Baruah has used one character. One character, female character, was shown in Konikar Ramdhenu. Every film you'll find that Jano Baruah was there. The presence of Jano Baruah was there. Then filmmaker Baruah always presents his alter ego in his film, who emerges as the voice of the common people. That is very important. As here in the film, the SDC, the filmmaker's alter ego, I believe that was filmmaker's alter ego. And I asked Jano Baruah about it, and he admitted that that is my alter ego. That is, I have already read his quote. The SDC is instrumental in Rakesh's regaining of his lost land through a political strategy. One day, SDC calls Sanatan Sharma. It was SDC that helped Rakeshwar to get back, but he has to, because he cannot say directly to Sanatan Sharma, the rich man, okay, go and just give back the land, but he has to play a trick here. And what he did, one day he calls the rich man to his office, and who was supposed to contest in an elections. So he was the candidate of the National Security Party, and so before election, Rakesh's land case might be the reason for his defeat. So he called, and this as this call, and was talking with the Sanatan, and the point he just picked up, and he was saying that as you are the candidate, so you are coming for the elections. The election is nearby, and the Rakesh's problem may be the one reason that you may be defeated. So that is the point that has triggered. He has applied for that. The plan of the SDC seemed to work out. On another day, Sanatan Sharma comes to Rakesh's house and returns all the land documents, ostensibly showing his compassion towards him, who chose nothing but to win the elections. So the way SDC placed the whole problem before Sanatan Sharma, who was the landlord. So he said that if you do not give back the whole land, you may not win. So that thing has disturbed Sanatan Sharma. So finally, as a political strategy, he came to Rakesh's house, and in a very humble way, he gave back all the documents that he captured from Rakesh's forefathers. That was a very interesting point. Once Rakesh gets the land document, he exclaims in joy and tells his wife. You just feel it. The person who was never thinking that he'll get back the land, who has already sold all his properties, the cows and whatever they had, the goats or something like that. Then he, out of excitement, when he got the whole documents, out of excitement, he told his wife, "We got it, we got it, we got it, we got our land back." Here, that bastard came personally to that bastard. Remember, he still has the angst. He still has the, though Sanatan Sharma has returned the whole document, but that his van, he knows that because of him, he has lost everything. The van is still there, and that is the reason why he has used the word that bastard. That bastard came personally to return it. Now get up, I'm off to the field. Now he decided, okay, now as I have got the whole documents, now I have the right, I have the legal right to go and plow the land. So he decided he's preparing to go to the paddy field and plow the whole land. He said that send me the breakfast. He was so excited to get back the whole documents, and said to his wife, okay, send my breakfast to the field. Field soon. I'll go now. I'm going to the field to plow, and send me my breakfast. In Assamese, it is called jolpan. Normally, a farmer goes early in the morning. Say if normally a farmer in Assam goes at 4 or 5 o'clock to plow, and the family members take the breakfast, which is in Assamese is called jolpan, 7 or 8 o'clock. So he says that, okay, bring all this breakfast to the fields. Then his wife, who knows the reality, that is the to this particular scene is very important. It's very moving and touching, because look, they have got the whole documents, and the whole land belongs to them. We have to keep in mind that in the whole process, the entire family has lost everything. They have nothing, and out of excitement, Rakeshwar has almost forgotten that he has no cows to plow. He has forgotten that point. But out of excitement, he was saying to his wife that, okay, bring breakfast to me to the field. Take all the breakfast. Then his wife, out of grief, said, how will you plow without the bullocks? Have you seen the cow shed? Then he takes hoe and goes out. Then he takes the hoe. Then his wife has reminded him, don't you see the cow shed is empty? There's no bullocks. There's no bullocks. You just see that moment. If you look at the end, it's very touching. I saw that particular scene in a very many times. I'm really moved with that particular scene. Then when he saw that, yes, yeah, he forgot everything of the excitement. Then when he saw that there's nothing in the cow shed, then he took the hoe and went out of anger. The most poignant scene is when Rakeshwar cries out in frenzy. He comes out from the house. He's walking the street. He was walking the street, having his hoe on his shoulder like that, having his shoulders like that, having his like that. He was moving. He was walking. Then what happened? He cries out in frenzy and vent his suppressed anger by hitting the landlord poster with his hoe. And just that particular scene, when you'll find there was a tree and Sanatan Sharma's poster was pasted on the tree. He came with the hoe and he was venting his anger. He shouted and took the hoe and just smashing. He wanted to smash the Sanatan Sharma. He wanted to smash the Zamindar, but he can't smash because he's a poor person. He has his angst inside. He can't express. So he took his hoe and was hitting the poster that was pasted on the tree. That was, I suppose, for me, that was one of the best scene in Indian cinema. Similarly, if you see Satyajit Ray Pathar Panchali, that the train sequence is always called one of the best sequence in Indian cinema. So for me, that is one of the best sequence in Indian cinema. To create the scene, Baruah waited for that another point. I asked, when he was hitting the poster, he was shouting something, and that point is very important. He was hitting Sanatan Sharma. He was hitting Sanatan Sharma, and the important point is that he was shouting something. He was speaking at the same time. He was hitting and speaking. What he spoke, he said Just because you gave me back, you gave back my land, don't think I'll vote for you. Don't think the wall around will never wake up. That point is very important. The wall around will never wake up. That particular voice is the voice of the exploited. They were exploited. They are the voiceless of the society. But it is not. Jano Baruah suggests through that particular sentence, the time will come, the deprived and the voiceless will wake up, and they will raise their voice, and their voice will be heard. And another scene, if you look at the whole scene, that there was a rain sequence. They have gone, the green paddy fields was there, and there was initially it was a drizzling, then it was shown the heavy rain. And that particular scene, PK Nair, as you know, the PK Nair, the founder of National Film Archive of India, he commented on this particular sequence as one of the best scenes in Indian cinema. For me, that last scene is one of the best scene in Indian cinema, and for PK Nair, this is one of the best. Rain sequence is one of the best sequence in Indian cinema. And now the question is, I asked Jano Baruah sir about the rain sequence, that is it the real rain, or it has been created by fire brigade car or buses. Then he said, to create the scene, Baruah waited for the natural rain, as he did not want to use artificial rain. He's a perfectionist, like Adhur Gopalakrishnan, Shyam Benegal sir, Girish Kasaroli. So he was a perfectionist. Normally, the other filmmaker would have used the artificial rain, but he wanted to use natural rain. So he waited and waited. And recollecting how the rain sequence was designed, Baruah told me, I had some madness. When I needed rain for a shoot, I must need the natural rain only, no artificial rain. In fact, every day I waited for the rain. When there were no sign of rain, my producer friend, Solodhar Baruah, arranged 2 fire brigades. But I was adamant that I would do the same only in the natural rain. After almost 17th, he waited for the 17th day. Just we have to keep it in mind. He waited for the 17th day. I thought I had no choice. After 17th day, he thought that there is no choice but to go with the artificial. After 17th day, he decided that, okay, I'll go with the, just a minute. I thought I had no choice but to go with the artificial rain. But suddenly I saw a mountain of black cloud in the sky, and I was so excited that I woke up the whole unit, and I told them to prepare for the rain sequence. Thus, it was done in the natural rain. Natural rain. Just a minute, I want to have the drink for 1 minute. Drink of water. So if anyone wants to study the history of Assamese cinema, we have to remember this film is the landmark of Assamese cinema. It's a landmark. If other Gopalakrishnan's Elipatham is the landmark of Indian cinema, that has changed the whole narrative of Malayalam cinema, because Elipatham was the first film that has got the global recognitions. So this is what I feel about the film. I have given the title of my speech, the voice of the voiceless. Though if you look at the whole story, then you'll find that Rakshasur, who was the voiceless character, he could not raise his voice because he could not fight with the rich man, with the zamindar. But if you see the last scene when he was hitting the poster of the zamindar through his hook, then you'll find that it was the voice. It was the voice of the voiceless. It was the beginning. At the same time, he was saying that the voiceless people will one day wake up. This is what I feel about the film. Yes, over to Gita.
Thank you so much, Parthajit, for your introduction and also for telling us about the adaptation aspect of the film from the novel. It's now open for discussion. Anyone would like to step in with a comment or a question? Okay, in that case, while you gather your thoughts, let me say a few things. I found the film had several resonances with, bicycle thief, especially the poster, that's so similar to, yes, so similar to Anthony and Bruno going around sticking those posters. And also to raise Ashani Shonket, and of course, Do Bhiga Zameen, where, there was a time when the farmer, especially in Hindi cinema, was, occupied a central role, but somewhere along the way, he's just completely out of the picture. And another thing that struck me was the contrast between the sheer poetry of the outside, the landscape, the clouds and the green fields, and it's so beautiful, so idyllic. But, the people, the farmer, leading such a miserable life, completely oppressed, completely exploited, in the midst of so much beauty. So that contrast is actually a very poignant thing. And the way Bora gets his land is also, he does not get it back as a matter of right. But on the one hand, it is the largest of the officials. And on the other hand, it is Sanatan Sharma who gives it to him out of a purely selfish reason, in his own self-interest, because the elections are coming up and he's a candidate. So, it would go against him, especially because in his speeches, he's talking about how he wants to do things for the farmers and to alleviate the suffering of the farmers. So it does not come across as a fight that is won on the basis of his entitlement, his right. But at the same time, the film ends with a blank but red screen, yes. Absolutely bright red. So somewhere I thought perhaps that was Janu Baruah's very subtle way of saying that the only solution is revolution.
True, true.
So these are some of my thoughts. I hope the others have gathered theirs and are ready to speak now.
Geeta, can I?
Yeah, sure, Nikhila, please come in.
I had a question actually to Parthajit. My question was, when was the novel written? It's very interesting that you say that the film transforms the ending by introducing this character of the collector as a kind of an authorial or a directorial kind of a figure over there. So that is one question. The second thing is, I think generally with parallel cinema, feudalism and the question of land has been pretty prominent, whether in Malayalam, in Kannada, in Assamese as well. But what I found very interesting in this film is, as you said, the resolution. The democracy process of democracy coming in and then giving some kind of it may be just a small sliver of hope, but in some ways the fact that he has the right now to vote makes all the difference. So I thought that was very interesting for me. And yet curiously, and this brings me to my second question, I was wondering why it's called the catastrophe, because I expected it to, when he's sitting glumly all by himself, I thought that's the moment, he's going to die, or as some of these feudal narratives might end, that everything will come to naught at the end. So these are my two questions. Thank you very much. And thanks for suggesting the film. I had watched Aparupa, a student had recommended. So this is also a very, very interesting film. Thank you.
Thank you. In responding to your first questions, the book HALODHIA CHORAYE BAODHAN KHAI, originally written in 1960s. I can't remember the year. It was written in 1960s. And coming back to your question, that why it is given the catastrophe, I personally feel that the catastrophe is given because of the Rakesha, because who was, at least initially, he was happy with his simple family, because a poor farmer was normally happy with a very moderate life, a humble way of living. But in the whole process, if you look, the way from the very beginning, slowly and gradually, he has lost everything. He has not lost the material thing. He has lost the happiness, his mental positions. So if you look at the first part, when the landlord came to his place and asking that your father has mortgaged the whole land, and now this land belongs to me. And that at the time the Rakesha said that no, I saw with my own eyes that my father paid back the money. At that time, interestingly, he went back. Rakesha went back and beat his wife. Normally, it does not happen, and because he has lost his mental balance due to Sanatan Sharma's that landlord's words, because he knows that this is the only land they can survive. So from that point to the point when he gets back the land, through the process, he has lost everything. Even if he gets back the land, he cannot plow. He lost his mental peace. He's lost his happy life, everything. So I feel that the catastrophe here not necessarily is not. Does not suggest only the loss of his land, though he finally gets back physical, but he has lost everything in the process. So that particular catastrophe is closely connected to the scene when he was hitting the poster. So he was hitting because he has lost everything, and that is the reason why the catastrophe has been used, I suppose. Yes.
Yeah. Any other comments, questions? Yes,
Yeah.
Sanjay, please go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, this is something related to what Nikhila was saying. I was also thinking about the period of this plot, actually, in which time period it happens. Because there is one scene where this SDC is talking to one person in the office, and they are discussing Aadhaar. So I don't know, what kind of Aadhaar Act was there.
No,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, please, just I am to just here. The book was written in 1960s, but the setting of the film, the film was made in the year 1987. That will have to. It is not showing the background, the setting of the 60s in the film. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so he's saying that they are talking about Aadhaar Act, and then the SDC is saying that probably by 71 it will be scrapped. Act will be scrapped. So I guessed that whatever is happening right now is happening before 71. So that can be 60s roughly.
Yeah, that was the original text. Yeah.
Okay.
It was in the original text, and it was at the backdrop. So the social setting is 71. 71 is strategically important here in Assam because at the time Bangladesh got independence. At the time, most of the, as you are aware of that particular point, there is a social political issue. So I don't want to mention here. Yes. Yes, Geeta.
Sanjay, you have anything more to say?
Yeah, actually, I have a lot of things to say.
Please,
because I really like this film so much, and
it is a very text, yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking about certain points like the use of irony in this film.
Yes.
Out of these three irony, what we call dramatic irony, situational irony, verbal irony. Particularly, I was thinking about situational irony in this film. Yes. And I found several examples. If we take that scene in the market, when this one person comes and he tells him to vacate this place, that why you are occupying this place. I have been coming here and placing myself for the last 10 market days. And then interestingly, this Rakeshwar says that, do you have any deed? This creates irony because again in another scene we will see that the landlord, the Hanatan Harma, is asking him that, do you have any proof? That you don't have any proof. Do you have any deed? So it is the same question which is coming back to the farmer, to Rakeshwar. Another example is like this Rakeshwar is thinking that this person is very generous. This landlord is very generous, and if at all he is fighting the election, that he should win, and he fights for that also. In that scene where he is drinking toddy with his friends, and then just after some time we will see in another scene that how his land is grabbed and he loses everything because of this person who is supposedly generous, and he is the one who is defending him. The other person was speaking against. He said that he is a thug. Again, the yogurt scene there, it is kept in the open, that yogurt in the middle, and these two children, they are discussing that who will take what portion, and then Mohen and Moni. Mohen is saying that I will take this much. Mohen is taking this much, and then after some time we find that. Interestingly, the whole yogurt goes to the Mandal Sahib, and they are not able to eat that yogurt. They were supposed to have one feast, and some feast was being organized, and they are discussing that, but they are finally not able to consume that yogurt. Another example of irony is that Rakeshwar comes to his home and he tells his wife that we should vote for this person. And then we say finally that he actually pasted the posters also for him, but that's a different thing. But finally he knows that this fellow is a cheat. And then what happens that this person, Hanatan Sharma, who just before he has grabbed and he's like talking to that to the protagonist. After that, he appears in the election scene, in the campaigning, where he is talking about the rights of the farmers.
Yes.
So it is just the contrast that what he is doing in practice and what he is stating during the campaigning. So that is just opposite of what he has done.
Yes, true, true.
Another scene, actually there are several, maybe just one or two I will just mention, but I think one can do one systematic study on the irony in this film. And then there is this Rakeshwar who comes to his home, and these children, they are playing, and this Mohan hasn't gone to school. So he asks, why hasn't he gone to school? And immediately after that, he is stopping him from going to school, because finally Mohan has to become the servant of this headman.
Yes,
And then the last scene where like he is going to cultivate, like he is going to plow the land, when he gets the papers, and now finally he becomes officially the owner of the land. He doesn't have the bullocks, so what will he do finally?
Yeah.
So that way, I don't know. You can tell us better whether these scenes, different scenes, they are especially like, I don't know, organized by the filmmaker, or originally it exists in the story also. Like,
no, it was not in the story. It was made designed by the filmmaker. So I told you before that there was 3 protected meeting with the author, and so he was when the film was shown in Guwahati long back in 1987. So Jano Baruah sir was very excited and wanted to know his reaction, because in the original text, Rakeshwar had 7 children, and there was no any SDC character, or some portion has been changed. And before that, as Jano Baruah is going to change or adopt appropriate certain scenes and whole story, so he wanted to get the consent from the author. Finally, the author has given the consent, and when it was shown in the film in the theater as a special screening, then the author liked the film, and even he hugged. That was the important part. Normally, Homen Baruah, the original author, who passed away recently, he hugged. So I think there was a good rapport between the filmmaker and the author. Normally, the author and an author does not allow a filmmaker to change what, because he believes that if certain portions are changed, then the whole idea of the story will be changed. But at the very beginning, I just read out a one quote. Jano Baruah told and assured the author that the story will remain same, but some portion will be changed. That is important. I really just liked your the point where the irony of the situations. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Yeah, sorry, just one point. Like I thought that this Homen Baruah, because he was a civil servant, so he might have invented this character who is very positive and who ultimately changes. I don't know.
That is one of the significant aspects of Jano Baruah as a filmmaker. He always uses his alter ego. When the character is in trouble, is in plight, he picks up, he just goes and helps them in a different way. That is his distinctive quality as a filmmaker, and that shows his humanity, his voice for the poor people, deprived people in every way. Yes.
Anyone else would like to step in now?
Ita, can I make a comment? I'm sorry, I haven't had the chance to watch the film very carefully. I watched it in bits and pieces because of some commitments at VIT. But can I make a comment? Is that okay?
Oh, of course, Ajanta, please go ahead.
Yeah, so first of all, really congratulations and thank you so much for introducing this really fantastic film and to Dr. Baruah for speaking to us. So I want to ask about, a situation that I've been dying to ask, which everybody has also been dying to ask, which is of course the NRC, right? So now I think now when you talk about the land question, sir, I wonder, there are specific ways, and of course, Geeta referred to many great films. I was also reminded of, this great Gautam Ghosh film, Ma Bhumi,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Now, I wonder if there is actually, however, because it is Assam, and it brings forth the challenges, but also the richness of thinking of citizenship not in a uniform fashion, right? So by this time, the massacre of Nellie has already happened. The AGP is already formed. There's a new kind of populism that's on the rise. And so this is the great Jhanu Baruah, and this is actually my first Jhanu Baruah film. So I'm so grateful, and I'm going to watch all of them later on. So I'm wondering, sir, if we kind of, is it a kind of naive optimism that the revolution will come? Is it not actually the case that unfortunately capitalism seems to have a way of spiraling into this bad infinity? That in a sense, that the national, the people have not arrived, and the kind of moment that we are we're living through now. I mean, the NRC, then, the anti-CAA just happened. They're going into the next elections in UP. And the intellectuals of Assam, sir, I remember, this is many of them, they had very, very complex positions. So that it was, of course, related to religion, related to a new form of colonialism. So there are so many things, if you would just talk of, because by this time, the massacre of Nellie, I guess, is really a critical moment in the history of Assam. And there are so many things that came to my mind when I watched the film, but I could not watch it kind of, because we were just finishing term and exams. So I'd just like you to talk about, really, because you cannot think of citizenship in a homogeneous way at all in most of the world. And the case of Assam is bringing that to us so very, very forcefully. And I wonder in some ways if, the left has had or not had the theoretical sensitivity to address these specific issues. Yeah, and thanks for a great talk. And really, Nikhila and Geeta, thanks for introducing these great films. I've so enjoyed them.
Thank you, Ajanta. Parthajit, would you like to respond?
Yeah, I just like to respond in a very brief way. Jhanu Baruah is just I'll stick to my response to Jhanu Baruah only. I'm not going out of Jhanu Baruah or that point. Anyway, Jhanu Baruah made the film in the year 1987 when AGP, Assam Gana Parishad, they were the student leader who were actively participated in Assam movement. And during that time in 1985, then the Chief Minister Prafulla Kumar Mahanta was the Chief Minister. Then at the time, Jhanu Baruah made the film. If you look at, as Geeta has observed, and most of you might have observed, that the film ends with a red note, and it is very symbolic in that sense, because it is a subtle way of suggestion that the revolutions may come. The revolutions always comes from the deprived people for the poor people. And in every film, Jhanu Baruah was such a person who always talks of the deprived. And in terms, even in 2019, when Ka movement in Assam was on the peak, it was Jhanu Baruah who came up openly. Not all filmmakers in Assam, not even in some in Kolkata, some filmmakers, but it was Jhanu Baruah who came up openly in the public platform to protest against Ka movement. So he was such a person, a filmmaker who always thinks, believes in humanity. And I think uh, he does not think of his position as a filmmaker who is conscious about, okay, if I go forward and if I come and say something against the government, the my prestige, my fame will go away. But he always thinks for the society, for the poor people, number one. And number two, as Ajanta has specifically mentioned about the Nelly massacre. Nelly massacre is the people in Assam does not like to remember the Nelly massacre. That is the inside story I'm telling you. The people who are living, more specifically the Assamese people, do not like to remember the massacre, the Nelly massacre, because in 1983, thousand minority were badly, brutally killed. And that is the worst thing that ever happened. But interestingly, you'll be surprised to know that Assam is always known as a state that all people, irrespective of all religion, caste, creeds, are living in harmony and unity for longer period of time. Now the question is, even for me, I have no idea what led to the to Nelly massacre. I have no idea. Even two, three writer, one from Mekiko from Japan, she has written a book on Nelly massacre. There are many people who have written on that. Is from outside, even from Assam. People have written on Nelly massacre, but originally, even myself, I do not want to remember, because I do not want to see Assam in that state, because I love humanity. I'm not that kind of person. I love a section of the people. I do not love a section of the people. I love all humanity, irrespective of the religion, caste, creed. I love all people. So I still feel very sad when I think of the Nelly massacre. Yes, I'm badly pained seeing that why it happened in Assam. Assam is known to be a land that living all. If you come and visit, then you'll see how people are living since 12th century. That from the 12th and 13th century, all the minority have been living in place. You just see the harmony and unity among those people. And still, as an Assamese, I feel ashamed. I'm quite ashamed of the whole story, and I still feel pain. Instead of feeling ashamed, I feel pain. And that's why I don't want to remember the darkest history of Assam. Yes, Ajanta sir.
Any more comments? Jayanto, would you like to comment? Sarkesh? Okay, Jayanto.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really don't have a question. I like the film. And Ajanta Sarkar, she refers to that, naive optimism of the last scene. I totally kind of agree with that, This was essentially very much a kind of part of the style of the parallelism movement, a kind movement, kind of hoping that things would be turning all right, And this read in the evening, in the end of the film, suggesting that revolution is on its way, was kind of naive, just as like Ketan Mehta's Mirch Masala, that scene where at the end the women come charging at presumably the men, who have been the villains all along, is also that has not happened since. I mean, it is again rather naive to do it, So in that sense, considering that this film, as it came in the year 1987, is a kind of a swan song, for the parallel cinema movement, it shows the same concerns being presented in the same way. Because this was the year when extremely different new kind of films also showing some kind of a social reality, but in a different way, had already appeared, like Mirch Masala, Jalwa, Ijazat, Mr. India. I may be a little extreme in my, selection of these films, but the fact is that um, as one of the biggest faces of the parallel cinema movement, who turned on one of its biggest critics, Nasiruddin Shah, said that one thing which was totally avoidable about the parallel cinema movement, that they all seem to be making the same film again and again. I mean, I'm being rather drastic in my evaluation here, and they did it with all the right intentions, but the fact is the times had already begun to change. So it seems like a farewell to that movement of the 70s and the 80s, and it was a well done film. But there is among the elements which is pointed out by Nasiruddin Shah is the sheer predictability. We all know that even if you change the ending from the adaptation of his getting the land back or not getting the land back, the whole system of exploitation, it remained unchanged till day. However much you introduce an element of optimism in the end, it really doesn't. I'm sad to sound cynical, but in this way, the parallel cinema movement, for its much wanted realism, it always managed to escape the difficult questions, and this is also another example. Thank you.
Yes, true.
Thank you, Jayanti. Any response, Parthajit? Would you like to?
I do agree. Nasir Bhai, what Nasir Bhai has also said about the parallel cinema, I do agree, because parallel cinema normally started. It was believed to begin with in 70s. If you look at the film, Shyam Benegal's film Ankur, then if it's what's the film Ankur, the ending. It also ends a young boy, maybe 7 and 8 years old. He takes a stone and throws the stone at the landlord's house, and the film ends with a red screen. So it suggests the same thing. Means venting his anger by Rakeshwar's venting his anger, thus hitting the rich man's, the landlord's poster. Here the child is the future of the future voice. So I find the similarity, which was made in Ankur, was made in 1971, and Dhanubur's films was made in 1987. Okay, thank you. Over to Gita.
Anyone else? Sarteshwar, you'd like to say something? Sanjay, you had unmuted.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the exploitation and the operation in this film is quite obvious. But if we look at the moments of resistance, so I found several examples that slowly the film depicts the resistance of the main character of the protagonist, Rakeshwar. So it starts first of all with the filing of the case, and then he also starts meeting his friends and telling them that is very important, and particularly at the time of the election. He is telling his friends that how this Jonathan Sharma has cheated him, because ultimately through the whispering, the message will spread, and the people will come to know that this fellow is not a generous person. He is not at all thinking about the welfare of the farmers, but he is basically a cheat. Then he goes to the office of the Democratic Party and he meets its members, who tell him that even if farmers are not going to vote for them, but they will fight for the cause of the farmers. And of course, there are some moments where there is contradiction. He is also fighting with himself because there is some need. He has to earn money. So he is looking for the employment, and he's ready to work for the road construction. But finally, he gets better amount, better sum, which is offered by this headman to paste the posters. So finally, he accepts that job. But then he finds that this poster is of the candidate who has actually grabbed his land. So that's that's the point where he feels frustrated that ultimately he has to work for this person who has deprived him of all happiness. But then we find this vehicle moving on, which is playing a song. So this diegetic music has been used to awaken the consciousness of this farmer. So he hits with the spade or whatever instrument he has. I think he throws mud on this poster, and then that is another sign of resistance. And then finally the last scene also, because at one point it seems that it has frozen, and then he shouts and he runs towards this tree where there is one poster of the candidate, the landlord. And then he has this spade and he hits, and he is shouting, he is saying that even if you have returned my land, I am not going to vote for you, and the people will not forget, something like that. So which shows that, I mean, had it not happened in the film, it would have been like very naive kind of conclusion that, okay, this good Samaritan is there, this civil servant is there who helps him, and because of his generosity, he finally wins the case and he gets back his land. But that resistance also is there, and he doesn't give up, in the sense that, okay, he has finally got back the land, but he's not going to vote for this person. And that also shows that finally he can also influence his friends. So that way I found interesting that in a very modest way, but from the very beginning of the film, there is the sign of movement towards resistance, slowly but surely.
I do agree with you. I do agree. Yeah, I do agree. The sign of resistance definitely came up with filing the case against Sanatan Sharma. I do agree with that. Yes.
And just one more point, if you allow.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's about that drawings are beautifully used. Drawings of this Mohan. There is one song sequence, song is going on, and the camera focuses on each drawing. So and then and then in the last scene also, the tree gets converted into a painting. So it becomes frozen, and now the tree, which was natural tree, which looks now like a painting. So I found that idea very interesting.
Thank you.
Okay. Any others would like to come in? Sarkeshwar, have anything to say? Yeah, please go ahead.
Not much, because yeah, the title was slightly misleading me, in the sense that I formed certain expectations looking at the title, and they were not fulfilled. There was no catastrophe as such. Yes, it's a exploitation that begins in the beginning and then goes on until the end. But there was no catastrophe as such. I was trying to see what the catastrophe is, whether at one point it comes to that this SDC is a womanizer, and he also looks at his wife and then oh, I was thinking that, okay, this is the catastrophe that the film is referring to, but nothing of that sort happened. So in that sense, there was some kind of, as Ajanta was trying to say, a naive optimism that was there. And then I was looking at it as a kind of 70s films, mainly the parallel cinema, where there is a depiction of feudal values and the exploitation of those values. Then the bureaucracy also came. So then I thought, okay, bureaucracy and then the feudal, both colluding with each other, and that's what the film is about. Then suddenly this SDC, as Parthajit Baruah was saying, it becomes a kind of alter ego of the director, and he wants to help. So until then, I was trying to place it in the context of first 70s in the Indian context, and then as Ajanta was trying to point out, in the 80s in the Assamese context, the first non-Congress government coming into power in Assam, but it wasn't making sense. But once the STC came on screen, and he mentioned 1971, then I realized that, okay, it is not about 1980s. Actually, it is much before that. So in that sense, I was trying to place the film in somewhere. It was breaking my expectations. We thought, okay, land was given, but it did not accept it. But because the damage was already done. So there is a symbolic resistance at the end. And as Sanjay said, presenting the folk, lower class art as a kind of resistance too, that becomes prominent in 70s, 80s cinema can also be found here. So it draws from 70s, 80s cinema, but also tries to depart from there. But it doesn't know how to depart from there completely. So in that sense, it's a continuation of the 70s film, but also trying to take a different take on it, but it is unable to take because it is pegged onto a earlier text that exists as a novel. So how much they can take liberties is something that we need to look at. And because I have not read the novel, I couldn't trace the changes and see what these changes mean about the context in which the film is made. I think that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Parthajit Baruah, for suggesting the film for us and your introduction. Thank you.
Any response, possibly, to what Parthajit?
Yeah, in terms of the title, what talking about that he expected, Tarakeshwar expected much from the film, as the title has given the idea, put some ideas, that the catastrophe. So I believe, that is my personal belief, the catastrophe, Jano Baruah has used the word catastrophe. Maybe he has used the word catastrophe not from the classical tragic point of view. He has used the word catastrophe from the loss, the unfortunate things, the destitute state of Rakeshwar. That is what I believe, that it is not the way it has been normally used in Greek dramas or Shakespearean drama. I believe that that is my personal view, and because I have told you that that Assamese title, Halodhia, yellow. Halodhia means yellow. Choraye, bird, yellow bird. Baodhan means crops. Khai, eat. The yellow bird eats crops. So it is nothing to do with the catastrophe. So he has certain things to his mind to use it. From my point of view, catastrophe, he has used the word catastrophe from that point of view. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Parthajit. Anyone else? Any more comments? Either about what Parthajit has spoken or about the others? Okay.
Can I ask another Assam-related question? Is it because it's so rare for us to get a chance to speak to somebody from that beautiful part? Is that okay, Geeta? Just a short question.
Yeah, please go on.
Yeah. So, sir, yes. So I am in Tamil Nadu, right? It's the other end of the country, and it's just such a pleasure to have a platform to interact with you. So we have been hearing a lot about this thing, called the Mia poets. Yeah, Mia poetry. That became really sort of, important or a critical kind of a form of resistance by the Muslim land tillers who are now, because of Modi's agenda, and of course, it's Himanta Biswa Sarma having crossed over and all of that. So can you tell us something of have they made a significant dent in the cultural landscape of Assam? On the one hand, I guess just the nature of the BJP agenda is homogenizing, right? But the Assamese intellectuals have had such interesting positions. I don't remember the names, sir, but I was following several of them who are not, kind of for or against, but, who are locating it in the history of the Assamese identity, which you and Janu Baruah, of course, know much better than I.
Another one
So
is
what is
Hiren Gohain.
Huh?
Another intellectual was Hiren Gohain.
Hiren Gohain, yes. So, can you tell me something about, what are the Mia poets saying? What is the landscape now? Because we only get the very media versions, and which is, so I am really sort of far removed from reality.
Mia poet, but who do you know? So some years back, the Mia poets, Mia poems came up in Assam. So here in Assam, Mia, the term Mia, M-I-Y, Mia is used for those people who have come from Bangladesh after 1971. That is your belief. And other Muslims who have been staying from long centuries, like 14th century, 15th century, 16th century, they are called Assamese Muslims. Okay, the people who have come after partition, and they are living by the side of the river. And interestingly, though they are living in the by the side of the river, they plow, they walk, they come to the town and city areas as a wager, daily earner. They are living happily in their own way. They work, and the point is, some people believe that they are not getting what they deserve, because they are also human beings. And some of the people among them have started in some colleges, in some universities, then in city areas. They have started realizing that they need to raise voice for the people who are living by the side of the river. By the side of the river, that is, there was a specific term in Assamese called Chor, C-H-A-R, Chor Sapori, Sor Sapori, Sor Sapori, Sapori, Sor Sapori means Sor Sapori Mia, Sor Sapori Mia, people who are living, Mia means the Muslim people who are coming from after partition, people who are living by the side of the river, their children who have now educated, they feel that they need to get their right. They are being treated as a second class citizen. Then they are supported in a group of people who really feel that we have the humanity, the idea of the humanity, who believe that one. So they supported those students. Then they started writing poems in support of those people who are living by the side of the river. Means they are called as Mia. And there was literary organization. They even organized literary organization called Sor Sapori Sahitya Porishod. means Sor Sapuri means riverside literary organization. They started writing, and some of the intellectuals of Assam, they supported. They feel that everyone should be treated equally. When the poem was coming up, and that is closely connected to NRC. So I need to talk about the NRC, but here I won't talk. But here in Assam, I'll be in trouble. That's the problem. So so this is certain things, politically very complex situations. Then the government, Assam government, has decided that this Mia poetry may polarize. The government thought that this may polarize among the people, but who has written Mia poetry poems? They think that these poems are for the right, are the voice of the Mia people, who are deprived. NRC and Mia poems are now the Mia poems. The people who used to write Mia poems, they are legally stopped, that they can't write. That means you can't speak, or certain things happen. Yeah.
Thank you, Parthajit. Any more questions, comments? Okay, thank you all very much for this wonderful session. Thank you for logging in and raising your comments, questions. Thank you so much, Parthajit. It was a very wonderful session that we just had. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, everyone.
It was my
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank
See you
you.
next
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.